All right, let's talk about it. We're going to tackle one of the most feared, most misunderstood questions in the entire IGCSE First Language English paper. Let's dive right in.
Just think about it for a second. Which question is it that consistently causes the most stress when you flip open that exam paper? The one that really separates the good answers from the truly great ones.
You got it, the writer's effect question. It's sitting there in paper 1, and yeah, it's got a bit of a reputation for being tough. But here's the good news. It is absolutely a skill that you can learn, practice, and master.
And look at this. This quote comes straight from an examiner's report, and it nails the biggest problem. So many students just fall into the trap of summarizing the story. They tell the examiner what is happening, but that's not what the question is asking. It's all about how the writer is using very specific words to create a feeling, an image, a mood, and that's the big shift we need to make. So here's our game plan for today. We're going to look at the big exam changes coming in 2027. Then I'll introduce you to a really powerful method for structuring your answer. We'll walk through a top band example, pinpoint the common traps to avoid, and wrap it all up with a final takeaway. By the end of this, you are going to have a crystal clear roadmap to ace this question. First up, let's look ahead. The syllabus is getting an update for exams from 2027 onwards. And honestly, for this specific question, the changes are actually fantastic news for students. Okay, let's break this down. The question is basically becoming sharper, more focused. So instead of analyzing 2 different paragraphs for 6 examples, you'll now focus on just 1 paragraph and find 3 examples. The marks are adjusted from 15 down to 10 to reflect that. But here's the best part. The paragraph you need to analyze will be printed right there in the question paper. No more flipping back and forth to the insert. This is a game changer because it lets you focus on what really counts, the quality of your analysis. So, how do we get that top quality analysis? Well, we need a strategy. I like to call it the ladder method, and it's designed to help you build your answer step by step, from a simple observation all the way up to a top band insight. I want you to think about your analysis like you're climbing a ladder. You can't just magically teleport to the top, right? You have to start on that bottom rung, get a firm footing, and then work your way up step by step to get that amazing view from the top. And here are the 4 steps. First, you select a short, really powerful quote, just 1 to 3 words. Second, you start on the bottom rung. Explain its literal dictionary definition meaning. This just proves to the examiner you understand the basics. Third, you start climbing up. You explain the first inference, that immediate effect or feeling. And finally, you reach the top rung. This is where you explore the deeper connections, the wider associations, and the overall impact on the reader. It's a simple process you can use every single time. All right, theory is one thing. But let's actually see how this whole thing works in practice. We're going to take a real example and break it down step by step using our ladder. Here's our quote. It's from a passage describing a pretty grim backpacker's dormitory. Now notice how it's short, but it's packed with powerful words like worn and crammed. That's what we're looking for. Okay, bottom rung. What does the word crammed literally mean? Well, it just means packed in super tightly with no room to move. It's simple, it's clear, and boom, you've just secured your foundational marks. Now let's take a step up the ladder. If things are crammed together, what does that suggest? It immediately implies that the room is really uncomfortable, it's overcrowded. We're now moving from what the word means to what it implies. And now for the final climb to the top rung, the deeper effect. That word crammed doesn't just mean overcrowded. It starts to evoke a feeling of claustrophobia, like you're being trapped. It suggests neglect, an oppressive atmosphere. See how we did that? We went from a simple definition all the way to a really sophisticated analysis of the reader's emotional journey. That's the climb. Now take a look at this. This is from a real candidate's answer. The student has done a good job of picking out powerful words like crackles and splatters, and they've explained the literal meaning, which is a great start. They're on the bottom rung, but the analysis of the effect is still a bit thin. This is exactly where our ladder method comes in. It gives you the structure you need to add those next 2 layers, the first inference and the deeper effect, to lift this answer from just okay to a top band response. So now that we know what we should be doing, let's do a quick fire round on what not to do. These are the classic mistakes that examiners see over and over again. First, please avoid vague comments. Saying something creates a picture is totally meaningless. What picture does it create? Be specific. Second, don't just repeat the text. You can't say, "The dangerous cliff shows it was dangerous." That tells us nothing.
Third, avoid feature spotting. Just pointing out, this is a metaphor, gets you 0 marks. You have to explain what that metaphor does. Also, pick powerful words. Plain ones like walked give you nothing to analyze. And finally, this sounds obvious, but you'd be surprised, double check that you're analyzing the correct paragraphs.
So, let's make this really clear. Keep your quotes short and powerful. Choose a word like devoured, not ate. And always, always focus on explaining the effect, not just naming the technique. We have covered a lot of ground, so let's bring it all together for one final, absolutely crucial takeaway. You know, the most important thing to remember is that doing well on this question isn't about some kind of literary magic. You don't have to be a mind reader and guess what the writer was thinking. It's all about having a clear, structured method that you can apply every single time to unpack the layers of meaning hidden in the text. The latter method gives you that structure. You now have the tools you need to take apart any passage and build a top-band analysis from the ground up. The only question left is, are you ready to start climbing?